Under an Israeli prison, bulldozers nearly destroyed what could be one of the earliest Christian churches in the world, hidden for 1,700 years. How much could this mosaic change what we believe we know about the early days of Christianity? In the north of the land of Israel, where the morning light slides in golden sheets over the Jezreel Valley, a hill rises. It owes nothing to the whims of the mountains. It is made by human hands, of piled stones, crushed houses, overturned walls. Layers upon layers, cities upon cities. It is the Tel of Megiddo. The hill dominates the crossroads of ancient routes. Below, the dusty paths cross, heading towards Egypt in the south, towards Syria and Mesopotamia in the north and east. Between these paths, caravans advance, loaded with incense, linen, copper, and glass. The hooves of horses hit the ground, chariots creak, soldiers watch. He who holds Megiddo holds the throat of the earth. Today, geographers draw lines, set coordinates, draft maps. They write, Tel Megiddo, Jezreel Valley, 30 kilometers southeast of Haifa. But beneath these cold numbers lies a burning memory. In 2005, the nations list the name of Megiddo in the Book of World Heritage, alongside Tel Hazor, Tel Beersheba. They whisper it as a biblical testimony, as the still visible trace of the fortified ancient cities of Israel. But for millennia, the hill has already spoken, before seals, before signatures. Beneath the recent dust, time goes backward. In the Neolithic, already, men established their homes here. They erect a few stone walls, hunt game in the hills, sow wheat in the fertile grounds. The 4th millennium BCE spins its seasons, and the first communities weave together. The hill begins to swell with their remains. Come the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the walls become thicker, the gates wider, the cisterns deeper. Megiddo becomes a Canaanite city-state. Within its ramparts, princes sit on low thrones, surrounded by scribes bent over their clay tablets. They count sheaves, herds, vassals. At the gates, merchants mingle with spies. On smoking altars, priests raise their arms to the gods of rain and war. But the shadow of the Nile rises from the south. Pharaohs look to the north and covet these roads that stitch together the kingdoms. Megiddo bends under Egyptian domination. The city becomes an administrative center, a cog in the vast mechanism of an empire. The steles bear foreign names. Egyptian scribes record tributes and forced labor. Soldiers wearing strange helmets guard the filled barns. Then comes the stormy day, around 1457 BCE. The entire plain holds its breath. Thutmose III, Pharaoh of Egypt, advances in campaign against a coalition of rebellious Canaanite princes. Chariots gather, spears vibrate, shields align. The Battle of Megiddo tears the sky. The clash of weapons rolls over the hill. The annals of Karnak, carved into the stones of distant temples, will remember this shock. Here, at the very spot where visitors walk today, soldiers silently fall, and the dust drinks their blood. Centuries pass, but Megiddo does not disappear. In the time of the kings of Israel, its name resurfaces in the sacred scrolls. The Book of Kings mentions Solomon's works, the projects that strengthen the gates, walls, defensive systems, at Megiddo as at Hazor and Gezer. There is talk of stables, chariots, fortresses. The city stands, solid, in the chain of royal defenses. Later still, another king advances towards his destiny, on this same road. Josiah, king of Judah, crosses at Megiddo the path of Pharaoh Necho. The biblical chronicles recount his swift fall, his brutal death at Megiddo. In these sober verses, a tragedy is written. A pious king falls in this plain that seems to drink the life of the mighty. Megiddo becomes the stage for the failure of kings, a mirror of human fragility. Then comes the time of decline. Under the Persians, then the Greeks, the old splendor of the citadel fades. In the Hellenistic period, other centers shine brighter. The walls crack, the streets become sandy. The fortified city gradually ceases to be a major center. People move to nearby localities, more convenient, better suited to the new logics of power. The Tel, abandoned as an urban heart, falls asleep, covered in bushes, still watching over the plain it no longer commands. But history does not stop. The eagles of Rome spread their wings over the region. Judea, then Syria-Palestine, come under Roman authority. Legions cross the valley. Milestone stones are planted. Paved roads replace the old paths. On the empire's maps, the region of Megiddo blends into the dense network of provinces. The Roman order imposes its rules, taxes, and garrisons. When the empire shifts towards Christianity and Constantine opens the way to a new faith, the region changes its face. In the Byzantine era, between the 4th and 7th centuries AD, the cities take on new features. Churches emerge, adorned with shining roofs, pierced with apses oriented towards the rising sun. In the villages of Galilee and the Jezreel Valley, the ancient walls now stand alongside bells and crosses. The ground is covered with tesserae, small stones, carefully cut, aligned in geometric designs, vines, peacocks, discrete symbols. At Beit She'an, at Beth Alpha, in the towns of Judea and Samaria, Christian mosaics multiply. They tell stories, trace Greek inscriptions, engrave in stone the presence of new communities. The region becomes a vast field of signs, colors, prayers, frozen beneath the feet of the faithful. On the hill of Megiddo itself, future archaeologists will come to unearth the Tel's depths. But for now, in these Byzantine centuries, other men live, pray, build around the ancient promontory. Time prepares in secret what will later emerge like a flash beneath a modern prison. At the beginning of the 20th century, while the empires of the modern world are torn apart, a few men turn their gaze to the old hill. Gottlieb Schumacher, sent by the Deutsche Orientgesellschaft, comes, between 1903 and 1905, to excavate this silent mount. He sets up his tents, draws his plans, digs trenches. Under his hands appear walls from the Bronze Age, structures from the Iron Age. The first gates emerge, sections of ramparts, forgotten military buildings. The Tel begins to reveal its secrets. Later, between 1925 and 1939, the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago takes over. Under the direction of P.L.O. Guy, then Gordon Loud, the campaigns follow one another. The teams widen the trenches, uncover monumental gates, vast defensive systems, spaces interpreted as stables. The image of a strong, organized city gradually takes shape, stone by stone. The reports, plans, and photographs circulate in scholarly circles. The name of Megiddo is revived, but it remains linked to Canaanite times, to kingdoms, chariots, to ancient wars. Then the excavations fall silent for a while, before resuming in 1992. Tel Aviv University launches the Megiddo Expedition Project, under the direction of Israel Finkelstein, David Usishkin, Baruch Halpern. New methods, new tools, new questions guide the picks. The layers are read like superimposed pages. The strata follow the debates on ancient Israel, on the biblical kingdoms, on the historical reality behind the sacred texts. The Tel becomes a laboratory for Bronze and Iron Age archaeologists. But the story lying dormant south of the promontory is still waiting for its moment. For next to the ancient mount, another reality rises. To the south of the Tel, on a separate site, the modern era has imposed other walls, other enclosures. Where once chariots paraded, barbed wire stretches. During the British Mandate over Palestine, the site served as a military camp. Overseas soldiers set up barracks, roads, depots. After 1948, the nascent state of Israel takes over the infrastructure. The tents give way to more solid buildings. Gradually, the place becomes a military installation, then a prison, the prison of Megiddo, by the side of Highway 65 that runs through the valley. Thus, a few hundred meters from a millennia-old Tel, another enclosed world breathes. Barriers, watchtowers, metal gates. Inmates walk in the yards, guards circulate, vehicles pass through security checkpoints. No one yet suspects that beneath the compacted dust of the construction sites, under the asphalt, under the cement floors, another assembly slumbers, older, more silent. In the early 2000s, modern times imposed themselves once more. The prison authorities plan to expand, to renovate the prison. Excavations are necessary, earthworks, new spaces need to be opened. But in Israel, the law has set a rule. No major construction can disturb the land without archaeology's shadow falling upon it. In these lands saturated with the past, each dig of the shovel can tear a veil, or even massacre a memory. The Israeli Antiquities Authority, tasked with guarding these fragile layers, intervenes. It is then called a rescue excavation. Modest term, almost administrative, for a company where fate invites itself. Cautious caresses before the bite of machines. Within the walls of the prison, among the fences and watchtowers, a team sets up. Archaeologist Yotam Tepper takes charge of the site. He walks between the buildings, identifying areas to probe. The inmates sometimes watch from afar, these silhouettes bending over the ground. Between the concrete blocks, squares of earth open up. Shovels are plunged in. Modern layers are removed, gravel, backfill, concrete debris. Then the color of the soil changes, denser, older. The archaeologists descend. A white shard appears. Then a line, a surface, a carefully cut stone, then another, a mosaic. The discovery happens in stages, a slow rise of voices in the silence. First, a fragment of adorned floor, then a larger section. Here, a geometric pattern. There, a border. By carefully removing the dust, the tesserae receive light for the first time in over 15 centuries. Off-white, red, ochre, gray. The motifs take shape in precise networks. The heart of the mystery emerges. Adjacent walls also appear. Modest stone elevations, foundations, corners, thresholds. The team quickly understands. They stand in a rectangular room paved with mosaics. Dimensions are measured. The form becomes clear. It's not a large urban basilica, but an organized, regular, thought-out room. At one of its ends, a more unique structure emerges. A marked space, perhaps an apse, an oriented liturgical site. This architectural drawing whispers a new word: cult. Around the room, the excavation uncovers tombs, graves dug in immediate proximity. The skeletons rest oriented according to Christian practices known in late antiquity. Here, a wrapped body. There, a more modest grave. The presence of these tombs, on the edge of the paved room, envelops the building with a particular aura, as if the dead sought to rest near a place of prayer. As the plan is revealed, clues of a Roman military context become clear nearby. Structures, vestiges related to a camp, to a soldier's installation. Nothing overwhelming, nothing spectacular, but enough to suggest the proximity of a world of helmets, cuirasses, Latin commands. This neighborhood prepares the surprise that awaits in the inscriptions. For in the mineral carpet slip signs different from simple motifs. Among the diamonds and squares, letters. Words in Greek, placed like offerings. Here, a rectangular panel. There, a strip. The tesserae trace tight writing. Epigraphists are called in, photos are taken, copies written. Gradually, the voice dormant under centuries of silence begins to speak. The inscriptions name what the stones alone could not say. A dedication appears. It is addressed to God Jesus Christ. The Greek words, theoi iso Christo, or a similar formula, are red, implacable, clear. No doubt is possible. It is the prayer of a Christian community. Not an elusive symbol, not a simple discrete fish carved in a corner. A direct, frontal invocation to Jesus, named God. And the voices continue. A name gleams, surprising. A centurion. A Roman officer. The inscription presents him as a benefactor, a man who offers, who contributes to the creation of the mosaic or the building. The shadow of the armor suddenly leans towards the cross. The figure of the empire's soldier here joins the community of believers. It is no longer just the faith of the humble, of the marginalized. It is also that of those who carry the sword of Rome. Another name stands out, gentle, almost intimate. Akeptos, a woman. The mosaic presents her as a benefactor. She offers a table. Some see it as an altar, an object linked to the liturgy. In memory of God Jesus Christ. Through these few words, her gesture crosses the centuries. Under the modern prison, under the noise of locks and screams, Akeptos' silent gift reappears. Other names, more discreet, follow. Donors, members of the community. They stand together in these lines in Greek, aligned like a small populace written in stone. The dedicatory formulas repeat the known turns of late antiquity, expressions of piety, of memory, of commemoration. Everything says this room is not just a place of passage. It is a center of liturgical life, a heart where prayers burn. The mosaic itself remains sober. No large biblical scenes, no Christ enthroned in a mandorla, no Jonah spat forth by the fish, no Daniel among the lions. Mainly geometric motifs, simple Christian symbols, inscriptions. The silence of the spectacular images makes the presence of words even stronger. Here, faith is expressed first through letters, through a named offering, through direct invocation. The state of preservation is surprising. Despite a few gaps, a few damaged areas, the text remains clear. The archaeologists appreciate the luck that accompanies them. In a thriving penitentiary space, on a site conducted under tight constraints, they have touched one of the oldest known Christian floors in the Holy Land. They also immediately understand the fragility of what they have uncovered. The silent battle of dating then begins. The excavation team examines the stratigraphy, compares the levels, analyzes the mosaic style, the shape of the Greek letters. The first results converge towards an early date, the 3rd century AD, before Constantine, before the Edict of Milan in 313 granting freedom of worship to Christians. If this dating is confirmed, the paved room becomes one of the oldest attested Christian places of worship in Israel, a precious witness of a community praying while the empire had not yet recognized the legitimacy of their faith. The Israeli Antiquities Authority cautiously, but with perceptible tension, presents this hypothesis. Some researchers adhere to it. Others, more reserved, suggest a slightly later date, in the 4th century, based on comparisons with other regional mosaics. Paleography, ornamental styles, and archaeological parallels are fervently discussed. But all agree on the essentials. The mosaic belongs to the early centuries of late antiquity. It stands at the visible origins of the church in this land, where traditions already said it was ancient. Beyond the precise date, an image is forming. The building is interpreted as a Christian place of worship. The words vary: church, prayer room, house church. It could be a simple room transformed for worship, or a more formal space, already conceived as a church. But in any case, Christ is prayed to here. Texts are read. The dead are commemorated. Offerings are received from soldiers and women like Akeptus. The mention of the centurion raises a broader question: the Christianization of the Roman army. What does it mean for a Roman officer to be a donor in a small community in the Megiddo region? Is it an isolated sign, a rare case, or an indication of a broader Christian presence under bronze helmets? The neighboring graves, attributed to the same Christian community, deepen the mystery. Around the room, a small cemetery takes shape, as if death wanted to remain in the halo of this place of prayer. In November 2005, the news breaks through the prison gates. The Israeli Antiquities Authority organizes a press conference. The words, "one of the oldest Christian churches in the Holy Land," circulate. The images of the mosaic, its inscriptions, its motifs, travel through agencies like Associated Press, Reuters, and others. The world's screens show the paradox: an ancient Christian prayer room discovered beneath the yards of a modern Israeli prison. The media emphasize the proposed dating, the explicit mention of God, Jesus Christ, the figure of the Roman centurion. The general public discovers that beneath the walls of a penitentiary establishment lies the traces of an ancient faith, that a Roman officer and a woman named Akeptus have left marks more enduring than many unnamed powerful people. In academic journals, the first reports by Yotam Tepper and the IAA detail the context, the levels, the epigraphic readings. Soon, specialists in late antiquity, biblical archaeology, and the history of early Christianity take up the case. They discuss it, the exact date, the nature of the building, the scope of the community. But no one denies the importance of the site. The mosaic enters the exclusive circle of major witnesses to the beginnings of Christianity in Palestine. On site, however, the joy of discovery immediately clashes with another reality, harsh and material. The prison operates. Guards circulate. Inmates live there. The mosaic appears in an environment where security is paramount. It must be protected, but the daily penitentiary operation must also continue. Temporary covers are installed, protective structures erected. Some extension works are suspended or adapted. Discussions open between the IAA, the relevant ministries, and the penitentiary authorities. What should be done? Leave the mosaic in situ? Cover it? Move it? Should we envision an archaeological park in place of the prison one day? These questions, heavy with budgets, security, and politics, remain unresolved. Time, once again, starts to hesitate. To understand what the mosaic changes, researchers reconstruct the life pattern of the community that laid it. First comes the installation phase. Sometime in the 3rd or 4th century, a small Christian community takes root in the Megiddo region. It is organized around a rectangular hall, orients its liturgical space, paves its floor with tesserae, calls Christ by his divine name. Nearby tombs show that this community is not abstract. Men, women, and children belong to it and wish to rest near their place of prayer. Then comes the functioning phase. For years, maybe decades, the hall resonates with human voices. Scriptures are read in Greek. The names of the centurion, Akeptuus, and other donors are pronounced in memory. Rites are celebrated around the donated table. Sunlight passes through the opening, glides over the mosaics, and makes the tesserae sparkle. In this modest hall, between a military camp and the roads of the empire, a new faith is lived out daily. One day, however, the liturgical use ceases. The reasons are lost. The transformations of the late Byzantine era, the conquests, the population changes, the advent of new powers, all shake the region. Islamic, medieval, modern. The occupations succeed one another. The hall is abandoned. Its walls degrade. Its roof collapses. It slowly fills with debris. Later layers cover it. Unknowingly, British and then Israeli soldiers will set up their installations, then their cells, above this buried memory. In the early 21st century, excavation reverses the process. Archaeologists remove this covering layer by layer. The 21st century suddenly discovers that beneath its control infrastructures lie traces of a faith once persecuted, then recognized. Between the prison and the mosaic, between the bars and the tesserae, a strange dialogue unfolds. Researchers then assess the situation. What is certain? A hall paved with Greek Christian inscriptions mentioning God Jesus Christ. A Roman centurion and a Akeptus explicitly named as donors. Associated Christian tombs. A precise location within the precincts of the modern prison of Megiddo, near the ancient Tel. What is widely accepted, dating to late antiquity, in the 3rd or 4th century. Undeniable Christian character. Major importance for the history of early Christianity in Israel. What remains debated? The exact boundary between the 3rd and 4th centuries. The institutional status of the hall, fully recognized church, simple prayer room, domus ecclesia set up in an existing building. The size of the community, its social composition, the depth of its ties with the Roman army. So many questions fuel conferences and articles, yet do not overturn the core of certainties. On site, the Israel Antiquities Authority opts to keep the mosaic in place, protected, while a more permanent solution is sought. There is talk of relocating the prison, of one day transforming the site into an archaeological park open to the public. But the constraints are heavy: money, security, administration. Meanwhile, the mosaic is covered, monitored, moisture controlled. The site does not become a museum. It remains a secret guarded behind fences, accessible only to a few privileged people: researchers, authorities, rare visitors. For science, however, the Megiddo mosaic takes its place. It enters academic syntheses on the origins of Christianity in the Holy Land. It is cited as a key example of a place of worship predating or contemporary with Constantine. It is invoked when discussing the Christianization of the army, the architectural forms of early prayer places, Greek Christian epigraphy in Palestine. In studies of Christian mosaics of Israel, its name recurs, alongside Beth Alpha, Beit Shean, but with this essential nuance: it is older. It also speaks beyond scholarly circles. From 2005, media coverage presents it to the world as one of the oldest known churches in the Holy Land. Documentaries and reports seize it. Believers see in it a material confirmation of what they read in texts: the presence of Christian communities from the early centuries, even in the military fringes of the empire. Tourist narratives mention the mosaic when they evoke Megiddo, even if direct access remains locked by the site's penal status. For the Israeli authorities, the discovery turns into a heritage management issue. The Megiddo region is no longer just the tell of ancient kingdoms, of pharaonic battles, of biblical kings. It becomes a continuous whole, ranging from the Neolithic to late Christian antiquity. Infrastructure projects must now take this density of the past into account. Roads, bases, prisons are placed on soil saturated with memory. The mosaic compels consideration of how to reconcile modern development with the preservation of relics. In the medium and long term, some already imagine a different use for the prison area, a reconfiguration that would highlight this unique testimony. But no final decision has been made yet. Once again, time chooses to wait.